Hi, let us discuss Essay 330, Auditor's overall response to the assessed risk of material misstatement. Before moving into the standards in detail aspect, it is essential to understand certain basic concept. What is substantive audit procedure? An audit procedure designed to detect material misstatement at the level of assertion. Assertions means a representation by the management to detect material misstatement in the representation level, that is called substantive audit procedure. What are the components of substantive audit procedure? That consists of test of details, substantive analytical procedure, test of controls. What is test of details? For example, auditor might visit a particular department, sales department, check the sales transactions with the carbon copies of the bills, sale orders, bill of lading, bank receipts against the customers, debtors confirmation. In all angle, one particular transaction is checked in details, that is called test of details. What is a substantive analytical procedure? It is a use of significant trends and ratios and inquiring into the unusual fluctuations. Test of control is an internal control test. It is an audit procedure designed to evaluate the operating effectiveness of internal controls in prevention, detection and correcting the material misstatement at the assertion level. For an example, auditor might visit a department called sales department, observe the process carrying on the department, check the standard operating procedure and ensure that whether all the procedure as per SOP and that sales department functions are properly carried out. If there is no mismatch, then he will check the delegation of authorities, how the authority are delegated among the staffs. If the delegation is found to be okay, internal control functions are good, functioning effectively. Next, we will move into the overall response. Auditor shall design and implement the overall response as an address to risk of material misstatement, in the level of financial statement. Then it will become the overall response. Audit procedure responsive to assessed risk at the level of assertion. We will discuss now the assertion level, the lowest level, the representation by the management. Auditor shall design and perform further audit procedure whose nature, timing and extent is determined by and are responsive to the assessed risk at the assertion level. In determining the further audit procedure, auditor should pay attention to the aspects of inherent risk and control risk. While designing the further audit procedure, auditor should understand the ROMM, that is the combination of inherent risk and control risk. What is an inherent risk? Inherent risk is a risk which is attached to the entity and the environment in which it operates. And control risk is a failure in the internal control for prevention, detection and correction. Consider the likelihood of misstatement due to particular characteristics of relevant class of transaction or account balance or disclosure, that is called inherent risk. Whether the risk assessment have been taken into aspects relevant control to the audit. Obtain persuasive evidence rather than the conclusive evidence if higher the risk of material misstatement. Test of control. Auditor shall design and perform test of control when he expects that controls are operating effectively. Substantive audit procedure, we discussed now what are they, alone cannot provide sufficient and appropriate evidence, needed quantity and needed quality. Timing of test of controls, it can be depends upon the professional judgment of the auditor, maybe a particular time frame or it may be throughout the year. Using the audit evidence obtained in interim period. Interim period is a period between the date of two audit report. Auditor shall obtain evidence of operational effectiveness of controls during the interim period. Test of control is designed to bring out the operational effectiveness of internal control for the interim period. Auditor shall consider the following matter. Significant changes to those control have happened. what are the additional audit evidence to be obtained for the remaining period using the evidence obtained during the previous year period. Auditors shall design and perform to get the following factor. To understand the changes has happened. If there have been a change, auditor shall test the control in the current audit. If there is no such change, the auditor shall test the controls at least once in a 3-year and some control during the each audit. Controls over significant risk. When auditor is planned to rely on controls over significant risk, internal control will taken care of significant risk of the business. He shall test the controls during the current audit period. Evaluating the operational effectiveness of control. Test of control is designed to bring out the operational effectiveness of control. Auditor shall consider whether misstatement have been detected by the test of control process that indicate that controls are operating effectively. Even if auditor does not identify the mistake, control may not be operate effective. If there is any material deficiencies in internal control, auditor has to communicate to the appropriate level of the management and those charges with governance. Substantive audit procedure. Irrespective of assessed risk of material misstatement, whether it is a higher, lower or whatever, auditor shall design and perform substantive audit procedure for each material class of transaction, each account balance or disclosure. Substantive audit procedure with respect to financial closing procedure. Auditor procedure shall include agreeing or reconciling the financial statement with underlying record, examining the material journal entries and other adjustments were made during the previous year underlying the financial statement. Substantive procedure with respect to significant risk. Auditor has determined a significant risk. Auditor shall perform the substantive procedure to that particular area as an address to the risk identified. Timing of substantive procedure. The auditor performs substantive procedure at an interim period. The auditor shall cover the substantive procedure for the remaining period. Adequacy of presentation and disclosure. Auditor shall procedure the audit procedure to evaluate whether overall presentation of financial statements including related disclosure segment information is in accordance with applicable FRF. Evaluating sufficiency and appropriateness of audit evidence. Auditor shall conclude whether sufficient and appropriate audit evidence has been obtained in forming an audit opinion. The auditor shall consider all relevant evidence. The auditor does not obtain sufficient and appropriate audit evidence with respect to the material financial statement assertion, then try to obtain further audit evidence. If further audit evidence and sufficient appropriate audit evidence are not obtained, auditor shall qualify his report under SA 705. Documentation. The auditor shall document overall response to address the assessed risk of material misstatement at financial statement level, overall response to address the assessed risk at the level of assertion, results of the audit procedures. Documentation. If you use audit evidence obtained during the previous audit, auditor shall document overall conclusions reached on the basis of test of controls. The audit documentation shall reflect financial statement and underlying records which are in agreement. This is our small discussion of this standard. Thank you for watching the video.